When Jeff found himself in a tailspin as a manager, he turned to a family friend, Tony. Tony was not interested in helping Jeff solve his problems at work. Instead, he wanted Jeff to become a better person and leader. Jeff accepted Tony's offer to teach him what he needed to know in 8 Monday morning lessons. Tony asked Jeff to commit to teach others what he would learn. The following are the 8 Monday morning leadership lessons that our group will review in this presentation. Cottrell's first lesson compares the responsibilities of a manager to those of a driver. The manager is responsible for setting the course and for navigating the journey. The passengers or employees are free to enjoy freedoms such as pity parties or assigning blame, but the manager must remain focused at all times. The manager must accept total responsibility no matter what. When you learn to accept responsibility for all outcomes, you gain control over the future. Instead of being the victim of circumstances, you become the driver of your team, the leader of your team. As a manager, your job becomes a lot easier when everyone is working toward the same goal. Employees also need a sense of direction. They need to know that everyone in the organization has the same goals and is pulling the wagon in the same direction. They need an understanding of what the main thing is, the purpose or priority or mission. And the main thing is what should drive your agenda each day, not circumstances. If you lose sight of what the main thing is, every circumstance becomes an emergency. When circumstances become that which drive daily activities, people become firefighters bouncing from crisis to crisis, and the main thing gets left undone. When each person knows what the main thing is, you can keep your focus on what's important. When looking at your tasks, ask yourself if it's related to the main thing. If not, leave it and do something that is the main thing. Do the same when assigning work to your employees or they will get frustrated. The author believes,
people leave because their manager is not meeting their needs. People quit people before they quit companies.
When the boss doesn't give an organization a sense of purpose, people will not stay. They would rather work someplace that has a mission and knows it. So keep the main thing the main thing. Then you can go from putting out fires to pulling the wagon in the same direction. The third Monday, escape from management land, where things are not always as they seem. Management land is a trap in which managers fall and where things are not always what they seem to be. It can be a difficult place to escape. People tend to lose perspectives and simple things become more complex. Games with other people become more important than the work at hand. A manager needs to escape management land and get in touch with his or her employees. He or she needs to find out what are the needs and expectations of the employees. There are 3 types of employees on a team: superstars, middle stars, and falling stars. Superstars have experience, knowledge, and a desire to be the very best. Middle stars may be former superstars or may not have the experience to be a superstar yet. Falling stars will do as little as possible for as long as they can get away with it. Superstars make up about 30% of most teams, middle stars make up about 50%, and falling stars are about 20%. A manager that tolerates falling stars has set his or her minimum acceptable level of performance at the bottom 20%. This is unfair to the team members that work hard and excel. Do not reward falling stars by giving them less work in addition to good performance reviews. Instead, raise expectations and the top acceptable level of performance by recognizing top performers and rewarding superstar behaviors. Do not ignore performance issues, otherwise top performers will not stick around. Identify employees by star status and rate them accordingly. Make sure top performers are getting recognition and rewards and that bottom performers are being coached. Get in touch with employees and get to know them. Let them know where they stand and how they can improve their star status. Escape management land by shifting the focus from interpersonal politics and games to performance and the value of employees. The do-right rule. What does this mean? Cottrell provides that the do-right rule means to do what is right even when no one is watching. This can be a very difficult thing to do. Cottrell paints a picture with a story about an issue with a star performer. Todd is one of Jeff's star performers. We know that Jeff is currently short 2 team members and struggling to regain success and leadership of his team. Jeff is focusing on defining who are his star performers and who are his falling stars. Todd, the star performer, has been found drinking on the job and, despite being warned, continues to drink on the job. Todd does not know that Jeff witnessed him pouring scotch into his coffee. Herein lies Jeff's dilemma. What should he do, and what does he want to do? How does his reaction to this dilemma affect his team? To many of us, the answer to Jeff's dilemma is simple: fire Todd. Is it really that simple? When it comes to being a successful leader, Cottrell provides us with the cornerstone principles of leadership. Those cornerstone values are integrity, responsibility, commitment, and vision. Jeff's integrity is at risk. Jeff's first reaction is to ignore the problem. How often do managers ignore the warning signs? It's important to realize that this will only temporarily delay the impending doom and derail long-term success. In order to fix the problem, you must get to the source. Cottrell points out that in times of crisis, it can be difficult to think clearly. The best way to handle a crisis is to plan ahead. Planning ahead allows you to think more clearly and evaluate your reactions against your code of behavior and performance expectations. Doing what is right requires discipline, commitment, and courage. Everything counts when it comes to your leadership. Ignoring problems puts your integrity at risk. Losing your integrity takes away trust, a key in maintaining good relationships. As the author puts it,
you simply cannot ignore performance issues and expect your superstars to stick around for very long.
Everything you do counts. On the fifth Monday, Jeff and his mentor Tony begin their meeting discussing a termination session which stemmed from an issue with Todd, one of Jeff's subordinates who was found to be drinking on the job. A few key lessons learned were shared. Involve human resource personnel early in the termination process. The HR professional is experienced in these types of situations and can assist you in preparing for the session by affirming your right to terminate, researching the employee's status and rights, and preparing all documents required to support the employee's efficient departure from the organization. Time permitting, work with the HR representative or other senior leader to role-play the difficult questions that might arise. This will assist you in being more comfortable with your responses. During the session, ensure that you treat the employee with respect and dignity, and be sure to leave your personal feelings at home. It helps to keep in mind that it was the employee's behavior and choices that led to the termination. Remember, the employee chose to fire himself. You are only implementing his decision. Termination is in the best interest of the organization and the team. Team members were well aware of Todd's problem and were propping him up to ensure team success. In this situation, Jeff was the last to know. Jeff then articulated his desire to hire Todd's replacement in addition to the current vacancies quickly. Tony shared that the right people in the right jobs are his greatest asset and that the wrong people in the wrong jobs are his worst liability. Leaders must put forth due diligence and effort in the hiring process by hiring tough up front. By doing so, we will have the luxury of managing easy as the employee settles into the organization. It's important that the new employee and their team members understand it's a privilege to be a member of the team and that the challenging hiring process has led to a deserving and well-qualified candidate. Cottrell stated,
"The most important thing you do as a leader is to hire the right people. You cannot have a strong and effective team with weak and ineffective people."
Tony then shared his 3 rules of 3 with Jeff to demonstrate effort necessary to hire the right employee. First and foremost, it's essential to have a large pool of candidates for open vacancies. As a minimum, you should interview 3 candidates for each position. Secondly, interview each candidate 3 times and consider different times of day and possibly in different settings or modalities. This will provide you with more than one environment in which to assess the employee. Some of us are morning people, and some of us need a pot of coffee before we begin our production for the day. Finally, have 3 people interview the candidates. Besides yourself, consider a fellow team member and possibly a member from the Human Resources Department. Each individual can bring a different perspective to the interview and may provide significantly different inputs to their assessment of the candidate, which can provide a broader viewpoint of the interview. When the interview process is complete and you have your final candidate pool, never second-guess yourself on your selections. If you have second thoughts, it's better to re-advertise your vacancy. Do not lower your standards for the purpose of filling a position. In the long run, you and your team may be required to put more time, energy, and effort in developing the candidate, and this will reduce the overall production and morale of your team. On the sixth Monday, the first point is that your time is your responsibility. What Cottrell means by that is you are the only one who can control how you spend your time. He says there are four main ways this happens. First, you can do the main things right and use your time correctly. Second, you can do the main thing wrong and waste your time. This means you had the right main idea, but did not execute it correctly. Third, you can do the wrong thing but do it right, which is still a waste of your time. And fourth, you can do the wrong main thing and do it wrong and completely waste your time. These are valid guidelines to follow when you're trying to figure out how your time is being wasted or underutilized. Where is your time currently going? Now that you've thought about where your time is going, you can look to save small increments of time. Cottrell says there are three key ways to do this. First is by prioritizing your time. You need to prioritize the tasks you need to accomplish and then organize how your time will be best spent. Some suggestions he gives are making sure your desk is clean and organized, touch paper once, not multiple times, control email time, and batch your activities. Second, you need to limit the amount of interruptions that you have each day. Other ideas that Cottrell suggests is don't have your office furniture facing the flow of office traffic and schedule one-on-one sessions with your staff and your boss. Cottrell stresses that you need to set aside an amount of time each day that is uninterrupted planning time. Third, you must manage your meetings. Some suggestions for this are don't have a meeting just because this is the day of the week when you're supposed to have a meeting if you really don't need one. Don't recap when members show up late to the meeting, and start and end your meetings on time. On the seventh Monday, the session topic is buckets and dippers. It begins with this analogy. Every person has a bucket of motivation. That bucket can be filled to overflowing, or it can be empty and desperately need filling. Sometimes the buckets have leaks, and those buckets lose motivations as fast as you can try to motivate. Also, every person has a dipper. Each person's dipper represents negativity, fear, anxiety, stress, confusion, doubt, and can drain someone's desire and motivation. Cottrell then explains your job as manager is to keep everyone's bucket full. He lists 4 things to do if you want to keep your team members' motivation buckets full. As the leader, you are the chief bucket filler and have 4 ways you can keep your team motivated. Start by keeping the main thing the main thing. If your people don't know what the main thing is, their motivation bucket will spring a leak. A manager who has no expectations has a dipper that drains people's buckets. Secondly, provide your staff with feedback on how they're doing. It's mentioned that people need to know how they are doing all the time, and this doesn't mean giving daily performance reviews. Keys to feedback that will fill staff buckets are being sincere, being timely and specific, and offering feedback in a way that's important to them. Keeping buckets filled lets them know you care about them and the job they're doing. There are hundreds of ways of letting your team know you care and fill their buckets, but you have to find the ways that work best for you and your team. The author recommends memorizing facts about the bucket holder and their family or making coffee for your team. It's simple and people appreciate it. Other ideas include sending thank you notes to their homes, holiday cards, taking pictures of significant bucket-filling events, or even planting a tree on the company lawn on behalf of your team. Finally, let the team know how well they're doing as a team. All staff want to be on a superstar team. Letting them know how they are doing lets them know if they are completing their objectives adequately or not. The lesson of the 7th Monday: the more buckets you fill, the more your bucket is filled. The 8th Monday is a step into the learning zone. There is much progress that has taken place over the 8 Monday morning sessions. The author begins with an explanation of the 3 rooms in the learning zone. The first room is the reading room. He credits his success to reading books and recommends reading 1 book a month to increase your knowledge of management and leadership. The second room in the learning zone is the listening room. People forget to listen. Anytime you are receiving new information, you're able to make better decisions. You can maximize your time by listening to books or seminars in the car. This allows you to take in more information by reducing distractions. The third room is the giving room. It's pointed out here that you cannot succeed without giving back to others. He states the more you teach, the more accountable you become to what you teach. Tony tells the story of the people who went to the airport to wait for their ship to come in. Ships don't go to airports. The moral of the story is if you want your ship to come in, you need to go to where the ships are. Ships in the analogy are goals. They are specific, measurable, and obtainable. Here he mentions 4 reasons why people fail to set goals. People fail to set goals because they don't know the importance of setting a goal. Achieving the goal is automatic, but setting the goal is the issue. People don't know how to set goals. Write them down. Writing clarifies the goal and commits you to it. People are afraid of failure. If you have no goals, you're not risking failure. Goals require people to leave their comfort zone. That can be frightening for people because it often means encountering new things and learning new skills. Living in the learning zone means getting out of your comfort zone, reading at least 10 minutes a day, listening to people, giving back, setting goals, and staying positive. As Tony and Jeff concluded their final Monday meeting, Jeff shared that he has a renewed energy and commitment to his team and organization. He promised to bring a new positivity to the office and assured Tony that he would implement the leadership lessons learned in all aspects of his life. Jeff stated his work leadership commitments as,
I am responsible for my actions and my team's performance, no matter what the circumstances. I keep the main thing the main thing. I have a positive relationship with my boss. I escape from management land and stay in tune with my people. I recognize and reward superstar activity. I address problems in a proactive manner. I do what's right even when no one is watching. I realize that everything I do counts towards my leadership score. I hire tough. I am an excellent time manager. I fill others' buckets. And after this week's session, I'm going to add 2 more. I live in the learning zone. I am a positive role model for others.
In conclusion, our team believes Monday morning leadership and the 8 Monday morning meetings provides a blueprint to become a better manager, employee, and person.